Cheers, y'all.
Well.
Now that's the sound of a party starter.
Welcome, ladies
Absolutely.
and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza, known the world over as the internationally famous
Hi, Mom.
Smokin' and Toastin'. Welcome to show number 258. We are all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and we're brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. Great shirts for cigar aficionados. That's not just a magazine. That's an aficionado is a person that likes something, is really into something. So if you're one of those people about cigars, or maybe there's one of those people on your holiday list, you should definitely try to see if you can't get them a gift there. It's a pretty good idea for gift giving, and that season is rolling around. So MyCigarShirts.com, available on the web starting at $20. MyCigarShirts.com, because
Cigars.
yes, sir. Show number 258 today. Mountain Fork Beer is in the studio, all the way from Broken Bow, Oklahoma.
Yes, sir.
To our lovely little Houston studio here, and we'd love to introduce to you now Omar Viengar. Did I say it right?
You know, close. It's Viengar. but
Viengar. Okay.
I will take
Viengar.
anything other than vinegar because it looks a lot like it.
So yeah, it's a Viengar. Viengar.
Correct.
Viengar. So,
Yes, sir.
So that would be, what ethnicity is that name derived from?
It is actually Pakistani.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So my dad is from Karachi, Pakistan, and my mom is Irish. So it was an interesting mix. And then out I came.
I love that. That's great. So welcome to the show. Broken Bow, Oklahoma is close to
Arkansas.
So you're all the way over in the left side of the state.
Yeah, on the right side
map-wise,
towards
right?
that. And so we have an interesting mix of sports fans. Arkansas Razorbacks, but
Right.
also OU fans as well too.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I guess this might be a good time to ask if he's aware of that Martin House beer.
Oklahoma sucks. See, I'm from Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So,
and so I used to think Oklahoma sucked until they started writing my checks, and all of a sudden now they're fantastic people, and I love them.
yes, of course. So we'll ask you obviously a lot about the brewery, and
Yes.
you brought 6 different beers today.
6, and we're gonna do
This is-
shotguns and all 6 of them. It's gonna be fun.
Very exciting.
Challenge accepted.
Don't say that unless you mean it, because Ian is
I'm in.
a shotgun champion over
I'm
here.
in. Hey, I got
nice.
an Uber account. I'm good.
That's right. Well, welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. We are so glad to have you here today. We have a lot going on. In addition to the beers we're going to be tasting from Mountain Fork Brewing Company.
Correct.
That's
Yes,
the
sir.
right way to say
Yes,
it.
sir.
Okay. So the Mountain Fork beers, of course. Omar is here. We'll talk
Yeah.
beer with him. There's some very nice pint glasses he brought along, which is, and they're cold too.
And they're cold. They were
Love
sitting
that.
in my my chiller just to get them nice and cold for the beer.
Very good. Also, a lot of things on tap today. We'll be doing our best to get to new cigars to watch for. We'll tell you about a few that are coming out. We've also. I love these. You know how I love lists, right?
Yes,
So I've got a new list of 8 new single malt scotches to try
Ooh,
right
Scotch.
now. Yeah, we've noticed this trend that
Yeah.
when people are fighting for clicks
Yes.
for articles on the internet, everybody seems to add the words "right now" to whatever it is. It's like an exciting new breakthrough in chemical engineering.
Right now.
You know,
Exclamation point.
Or we could simply change the name of that list to "We tried 8 new Scotch whiskeys, and you won't believe what happened."
Oh yeah, no, that's the BuzzFeed. Do you ever notice that
That's
the
exactly
BuzzFeed
right.
headlines? They're all "you won't believe what happened," or it's like it's something like people are sharing memes on Twitter, and
That's
I am
exactly
dead,
right.
you know, or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, I'm dead.
But anyway, yes. So right now, we'll tell you about some single malt scotches to try. I've actually teased this story for like the last 3 weeks and haven't told you, but Tullamore Dew is the whiskey is they've come up with a new variation on the bag of chips.
On the bag of chips. What does that
I
mean?
don't know what to say about that.
It's a bag of whiskey. So I got to tell you about that.
Okay, I'm loving that in theory. I don't know what's happening.
It's a wonderful idea.
So
Leave
it's all that and a bag of whiskey?
Yeah, all
Okay,
that in a
got
bag
it.
of whiskey. So leave it to the
Yeah,
Irish,
got
is
it.
basically. you know why?
You can't have just one.
Yeah, right.
can't
you know
have
of
just
course.
one bottle.
You know of course why God invented whiskey, right?
No, tell me.
To keep the Irish from ruling the world.
It didn't take more than that. I promise you.
So it's funny. Irish is just about the last ethnicity you can make jokes about now. Right. Just everything else is completely off the table.
No,
but
that's
the Irish,
true. Yes,
the Irish, the Irish are always joking about themselves anyway. And I know I'm part Irish, so I can get there. So also we will bring you today's installment of what has become the single most popular segment on the show, which is amazing if you think about the fact that we taste beers, we taste spirits, we talk to you about cigars. All people love. There's so many people that love all of those things, and yet our most popular segment has turned out to be drinking news. This is our drinking news teaser music. Thank you. Today's drinking news teaser headline is "Taking the slogan at face value." That could be anything.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll get to that later on in the show, and I'm excited about tasting the beers. And then Ian, I'll tell you what else I'm excited about is Saturday night. Saturday night
you
will
going
be there.
To be amazing.
Adam will be there. I will be there, and so will hundreds of other people for the return of the Whiskey Social. Had to take a year off for COVID, and we all have our tickets. Our good friend Chris Hart and his organization puts this thing on, and it is the best spirits event any of us have ever been
so
to.
good.
It's fantastic, and there'll be a little cigar station set up outside. Wow. There'll be not only a whole lot of different whiskeys, but there's always some rum and tequila as well. And
we already talked to Trenton just recently. He's going to be there.
Trenton will be there from Oliva Cigars. So excited about that. It's going to be. It's always kind of like it's almost like a yearly sort of like high school reunion. You get to see all your buddies from the spirits and cigar world again. So anyway, if you have not gotten your tickets and you can be in the greater Houston area next weekend, this coming weekend, check them out. It's the Whiskey Social. You can Google them and all that information will come up. And I tell you, the tickets are worth every penny.
Oh, absolutely.
Every penny.
At every level of it too.
Yeah, it's a really good thing. So a lot going on for me this week. Ian, what about you? Did you have a chance to smoke anything interesting this week?
I did. I actually made it over to Casa de Monte Cristo this morning.
Love that place.
Grab myself.
How's our buddy Steve? Is he doing
Steve
good?
is doing great. Good. He's always there first thing.
Yeah.
I picked up a few sticks randomly, but one of the ones I picked up is brand new. Not that I usually pick up used sticks,
right? But brand new is always
right out of the ashtray. Well, that wasn't finished. To cut
They're
that part
factory
off.
refurbished.
Yeah. I think
factory reconditioned.
I think Cigars International sells some factory refurbished smokes, don't they?
No, I managed to pick up something that just came out, like I think within days ago, not too long ago. It was the Rocky Patel Disciple.
Ooh,
have you heard about this?
Is this the one that has like the cigar bands cover it from like the head to the foot of the cigar?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I got one of those
and it's got the brass color on it.
I got one of those for Christmas. It's still in my humidor.
Oh, this just came out.
Oh, so maybe. Oh no, you're right. This
new.
is not the one I'm thinking of. The Disciple is brand new. I remember seeing something about it. Yes.
So this, you know what? And I forgot to write down what the wrapper and everything is. So you guys can look that up on your own. I believe it's Dominican, and then
I'm sure Bruce will have that info for us before your report is done.
He's usually good about that. So this was the Robusto that I picked up, 5x50. The appearance, dark chocolate wrapper, beautiful brass colored band, long black footer with the brass at the tip of it and the brass Rocky Patel logo right in the middle of it.
And if you're watching one of the video feeds, you should be able to see that.
Great presentation on it. It looks fantastic. The pre-light sniff on this. Oh, sorry. Keeping going with the appearance. The smooth, leathery wrapper, medium firmness overall. The pre-light sniff on this got some barnyard hints of coffee and some chocolate. The pre-light draw on this, I used a clip. The draw was effortless. I got some fermented hay, leather, earth, a little bit of barley kind of flavor in there, and some white pepper. Barley was a strange one.
Barley, that's interesting.
I know that.
So it must have some Honduran tobacco in it.
It was interesting.
Honduran brings some interestingly different flavors.
Initial light on this, tangy white pepper and leather, some unidentifiable sweetness kind of lurking around in there, cedar finish, and retrohale on it. It was really nice. The first third of this, sweet cedar bomb, it just turned into this. It's like cedar all day long, and sweetness underneath it was fantastic. Tangy leather, slightly fruity flavors underneath that. Mocha, dark fruit kind of play around the palate, and medium strength. The retrohale was sweet and cedar with a touch of white pepper, solid ash, perfect burn.
So what is the difference between a well-made one and a poorly made one? Do you get all the aroma all the way through the stick, or is it like it just kind of stops halfway?
Well, it's a couple of different things. The first and biggest difference between well-made and poorly made is the way it smokes. The construction.
Yeah, construction will have a lot to do with it.
If it burns reasonably straight and doesn't go out on you, if you're just smoking it reasonably steady, then that's probably a well-made cigar. If it burns really crooked, if it canoes a little bit, or if it comes apart like the Gurkha one that I reviewed that time, where it looked like, in the photos, it looked like the exploding cigar. Remember from Popeye cartoons?
Yeah.
And Wimpy or Wile E. Coyote would get the exploding cigar. It actually kind of looked like it. So that's a poorly made cigar. And as far as flavor, the better made it is,
the better ingredients.
The better the tobacco,
just like
the
beer,
more interesting the flavors.
The better the beer.
So is that the difference between a quote-unquote craft cigar versus a macro-made one?
Well, almost every cigar that we wind up talking about on this show is a hand-rolled, handmade cigar. So that kind of puts it into the craft category because you can only make so many. There are some machine-made cigars. Some of them are not bad, but generally speaking, your best tobacco is going to go into the hand-rolled cigars because the idea behind the machine-mades is to make a lot of them inexpensively, so they're going to use
you can usually buy machine-made cigars at convenience stores.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Although I had some
grocery stores.
I bought some machine-made Fonseca Cubans when I was in Canada. And they were not bad, and they were, a heck of a lot cheaper than the handmade Cubans that were selling.
That's awesome.
I bought one or two of those and a handful of the machine.
So moving to the second third of the cigar, white pepper became a little more present. Cedar and sweetness began to separate a little bit and become more identifiable. The sweetness kind of leaned towards a dark fruit, or a lightly sweetened coffee kind of thing, and a lightly sweetened coffee sort of thing. Leather and mocha showed up on the finish a little bit. The retrohale is very pleasant cedar and sweetness. Solid ash, uneven burn.
Second, third did not burn as nice.
No, it got a little bit of a run on it, just a little bit. Not too bad. I think I have a picture of it on there. Should be popping up here anytime. The last third of this, the burn evened out perfectly. I didn't even touch it.
You didn't
have
to retouch it.
It just did its thing.
That's when you don't really mind.
Yeah,
you know?
And it was only worth a note because I was actually surprised that I had a little bit of uneven burn on a Rocky Patel. So, so the last third of this, the pepper moved a little forward, created a slight spiciness that kind of complemented the sweetness. Tangy leather on the lips kind of remains. There was a deep mocha note that kind of ramped up the further this thing got to burning my finger. Solid ash, perfect burn. This was a $10.60 cigar. Rocky Patel does it again. I give him a 5+, 5.5. We'll call it that. Nice. Now, this is our price to quality scale. It's a 1 to 10 scale.
Okay.
But the way it works is at 5, you get exactly what you pay for.
Okay.
If it's below 5, you probably paid a little too much for what you got. And if it's above 5, it's punching above its weight class.
And the more expensive a cigar is, the more difficult it is to get a rating higher than a 5.
Yeah.
If you smoke a $20 cigar, it can be outstanding.
It's $20. It better be good.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So at $10, you're basically saying at a 5.5, you wouldn't have been unhappy if that had been an $11 or $12 cigar. You'd have still felt like you got your
all the way
felt
through.
like you got your
really enjoyed it.
$20. I have 5 kids. I don't know if I've ever smoked a $20 cigar.
I have, but it doesn't happen often. I can tell you that.
There's this shop. It's on Rayford Sawdust in the Spring area. It looks like a very shady gas station.
Yeah.
But you walk in, it's got this massive humidor.
Yeah.
Massive humidor.
We should go do a show there, Ian.
Nice.
I mean,
I love
you
the
just
whole
don't
idea.
know what's there. And I walk in. A friend of mine actually owns a craft beer shop, but he also owns a cigar company too. And he goes, "Oh yeah, that shop. You sell lots of cigars at that shop." So
that's awesome.
It's kind of cool.
Nice.
That's awesome. Well, I had an interesting one this week. So you guys know, of course, if you've listened to the show at all, that I am an absolute AJ Fernandez fanboy. I love this guy's cigars. I feel like he can just about do no wrong. And the new World Toro is what I am going to talk about today. I think I have probably reviewed this before, but it certainly has been a while, and it's a cigar that's in my regular rotation. I've smoked it plenty of times before, but since there was one of them in that nice little bundle of cigars that our listener Bruce Stark sent
that was
last
nice.
week, he so generously sent us some smokes, and I thought, you know what? would be a good time to smoke this and reflect. You know, even though it's in my regular rotation, I'm probably not sitting when I smoke it and stopping and really paying attention. I'm just enjoying. So here we go. It's a 6x5, 55 ring gauge box pressed cigar, dark brown in color, a subdued but very decorative cigar band. It's not flashy, but it's very nice. It's a Nicaraguan puro, so it's wrapper, binder, and filler, all from Nicaragua. Pre-light sniff gave up notes of deep earth and rich tobacco, a little bit of tangy pepper on the draw. Yeah. I used a punch and lit it with my torch. 3 words for you. Nicaraguan pepper blast.
I really need to write that song, don't I?
You really do. You could break into it for maybe half the cigar reviews we do.
Right.
But this was a very real Nicaraguan pepper blast. It did settle down, sort of, but I'm going to tell you that the pepper note stayed pretty consistent throughout the whole cigar. It didn't smoke like a diesel, but it was pretty
Right.
It was pretty powerful. Notes of rich earth and black coffee were alongside the pepper in the first third. A large volume of thick, very chewy smoke, if smoke can be chewy.
I know what you're saying.
And then a very thick, flaky ash on this. I tipped it about an inch of the way in because I was pretty sure it was coming for me. But then as I smoked a little further, I let the next ash go a little longer, and it held on just fine. Now when I'm just smoking like regularly, not trying to think about things for the show, I have a tendency to usually flick the ash preemptively because I'm trying not to get everything I'm wearing covered in ash when it comes tumbling down onto my clothes. But when I do these, I do try to go a little longer and see how long the ash will go. And this one probably would have held on a bit longer than I allowed it to. But anyway, well into the first third, I started getting a hint of molasses and brown sugar, very subtle, but I did pick that up. Not a lot of change in the second third. Still very earthy, coffee and pepper, hints of dark chocolate. The burn started out a little bit crooked in the first third, but corrected itself without any touch-up and was never a problem. AJ's cigars are generally very well constructed. This one was no exception. I think I may have mentioned pepper, plenty of it on the Retro Hail as well. Plenty of power, but it burned nice and cool. So it wasn't power because the cigar burned. I mean, it burned just with a perfect sort of coolness. It was very, very good. Not a bit of noticeable harshness. Final third ramped up a little bit in strength from medium full to I'd say totally full. Pepper and spice continued. This was a very big but really, really enjoyable smoke. I've talked about my fondness for the AJ Fernandez Bella Artez cigar, one that changes and evolves quite a bit as it smokes, kind of like you were describing with the Rocky Patel.
Right.
The New World is not like that. Its flavors stayed pretty consistent all the way into the last third, even when the strength ramped up a little more. The flavors were still really consistent, not a lot of change, more straightforward. But what was happening from the flavor standpoint was so good that you really didn't mind that it wasn't evolving as you smoked it. New World is a $7 to $8 cigar, depending on where you buy it, and worth every penny. This is one of the cigars that kind of makes it tough for me to give a really good but a higher priced stick a rating of higher than a 5, because I think back to these cigars or like the Bella Artez at like $7-8. I think, wow, is it really better than that? You know, when I'm smoking something else. Anyway, the New World kind of sets the bar for an $8 cigar. It was great, really paying attention to the flavors and taking it all in. Thank you, Bruce Stark. You are a gentleman and a scholar, or you're a gentleman. But we appreciate that was a very, very, very thoughtful gift. Okay, because Omar has brought along. Usually we take a break right here, but I want to do a little beer tasting first because Omar has brought along enough beers that we want to space them through the show here. Yeah, and we appreciate that, by the way. So where are we starting? And we'll find out more about the brewery in the next segment. But where are we starting to taste?
We're gonna start as you would any beer, wine, whatever, from the lightest one first.
Okay.
And so we're going to start with the Mountain Fork Light.
Okay.
It's the
fullest body
light beer. Yeah.
Light beer with
light
flavor
stuff.
is the idea.
Light, that's exactly right, because a lot of macro light beers, they use corn syrup as well as rice syrup. We use actual ingredients like corn and rice. And so it's
not syrup. Right.
And not syrup, right?
Okay.
Our head brewer, Johan, actually is very passionate about the beer that he brews. and this does well for us. This is kind of a segue beer, as it were. Kind of like my first cigar ever was at Downing Street Market. And it was a Cuba Cuba.
Yep.
It got me used to smoking.
Right.
You know what?
You know, so and
Cuba Cuba's just fine.
I enjoy those every once in a while. It's
so it kind of gets you starting drinking beer or smoking, but it's a great segue into craft beer itself.
I love it. Now, do you want some cups, or do you want to pour into the pint
let's go ahead
glasses?
and pour into these pint.
Those cups.
Yeah.
Tasting cups.
Yes, because we have a lot of different beers, and we'll end our
You
beer.
pop that.
Into
Do that
the-
right there on the.
Oh,
mic
yes,
there.
absolutely. This is Mountain Fork Light. We call it MFB Light.
There you go. Yeah, you
Nice.
don't want to. You don't want to just throw away those sound effects.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we here at Smoking and Toasting, when it comes to sound effects and special effects, we do spare every expense. So, we appreciate your.
You say
giving
that,
us
but
some
every
real-
time we make the sound effect of a beer can opening, it costs us a beer can.
That's a really good point. Ian. Really good
That's
point.
exactly right.
So,
There you
all
go.
right, very good.
Do we all have one?
Yes, we do. Now this is MFB Light.
MFB Light. Yeah.
So is this? It's 4.2.
Yeah, it's 4.2 low ABV, not just because it's Oklahoma. That law was in effect for a number of years, and now we are free to brew a beer as high as we want to.
Yeah, when did they
is
change
so
that?
I don't know.
'Cause
but
it was
before
just-
I came on.
It can't have been that long
Yeah.
ago, because I know my wife has some family up there, and she was looking for anywhere that served decent beer, and even the macro brews had to be tamped down.
Right.
Like
Well-
it was weird.
Well, so we have, it's the McDaniel brothers. Mark McDaniel owns Mountain Fork, but his brothers own Hochatown Distilling. And
Okay.
Oh, nice.
And
Yeah.
so we make Tennessee style whiskey and as well as vodka.
Nice.
You need
Yeah.
to send them our way too.
Yes.
This has a slight there's a really nice, almost an apple kind
Yeah.
of smell going on the nose on this.
Have you taken a sip of this yet?
Haven't yet.
All right, check
It's
it
got
out.
a nice
Tell me what
cidery nose on it, but it's very light, full of flavor. And if you're going to a party and you're afraid of drinking something too crafty, but you want to be a part of it, right? This does well. It's great for just outdoor. You can have more than 3 and feel
This is good.
When you first sip this, initially, what you're struck by is that lighter body, the lighter taste, and then after you swallow, that finish kind of comes back and says,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm drinking real beer."
There's
That's
a little
exactly right.
This
sweetness
is not
to
a
it that I
Michelob
really
Ultra.
enjoy.
You know,
There are secret ingredients to our beer. It's malted barley, hops, water, and yeast.
You almost have Great Nut cereal right there.
Yeah.
I know, but it's. I always thought that was interesting. Remember when Bud Light started putting the ingredients on the box? Remember they were making a big deal. You want to know what's in your beer? Well, it's the same thing that's in
It's in
everybody
every
else's beer,
beer.
except they left out
They
whatever
left
that
out rice.
Yeah.
floor, and they also left out whatever that floor polish.
Oh yeah.
Remember, I'm not
Yeah.
making that up. There's something that's in their beer that is the same
Yes.
additive or what is it? I can't even pronounce that, but it's basically the same stuff. You could put it in your Bud Light when you're brewing, or you can make some furniture polish. It's really kind of up to you. But this is so clean and refreshing,
Really easy to
and
drink,
yet you
yeah.
get this wonderful. Wonderful flavor on the finish.
It's very light and easy to drink. Yeah.
What do you think, Ian?
I almost always steer clear of any beer that has the word light on it. Mm-hmm. Well, I say almost always. I pretty much always steer clear of any beer that has the word light on it.
Yeah. But this is
really, really good. It does have, like you mentioned, a cidery kind of nose to it. It has a little bit of a cidery aftertaste to it. I really enjoy it. It's a sweet, delicious aftertaste. It's not trying to kill me with hops like a lot of beers that
have
are
one
trying to
over
be
there for
lighter
you.
are. They
and I'll be looking forward to it.
they try to beat you up with the hops at the end and
Yeah.
say, oh, well, see, now you don't notice that you didn't have any flavor in the front end of this.
Yes.
So this actually has this really nice sweetness all the way through it. I really enjoy this.
I'm
It's a
digging
good
it.
beer.
All right. Okay, so we got to take a break, and we will come back. In our next segment, we'll taste a couple of beers. We'll find out a little bit more about Mountain Fork, when you guys started, what the, what you mentioned your head brewer, Johan,
Yes.
who I'm guessing is neither Pakistani nor Irish.
No, he's from Texoma, actually.
No,
Of course.
you gotta love it. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back. Smoking and Toasting, show number 258. Thank you for joining us. We'll be right back.
Awesome.
Nice. That's good.
So, do you remember cigar folks?
Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. This program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. Great shirts on the web for cigar fans. Check it out at MyCigarShirts.com because...
Cigars.
Yeah. Guys, you may want to put in a pre-order for the upcoming new Samuel Adams Boston Beer Company beer because it is going to be, here comes the bad joke, ching, out of this world. It is called Spacecraft. It is a West Coast style IPA, and the thing that is about it that's interesting is it was brewed from 66 pounds of hops that traveled over 300 miles above the Earth last month, along with inspiration for the first all-civilian crew to go to space. So they took along these hops and then brought them back to Boston Beer, and now they're brewing this beer that is going to be released with hops that have been to space.
Hops.
Space hops, yeah, it's a thing. You know, imagine all of the great animated shows you can make with themed around space hops. That'd be
Space hops.
That'd be kind of funny.
Don't even know what to say.
Kind of surprised they didn't serve that in the bar on 10 Forward in Star Trek. Well, this beer is good, Captain. It's made with space hops.
That's right.
So anyway, something to look for. I'm guessing, by the way, not going to be an inexpensive beer.
Oh, probably not.
I think they have one called Utopia.
Oh, Utopias, yeah.
Which is
Oh, yeah,
several $100s.
I was going to say it's one of the
Yeah.
more expensive beers in the world, isn't it?
Yes, I have
Per
yet to
ounce,
buy
I think.
it because it's several $100
Yeah.
for a beer, and I have a hard time.
So
partaking in
I've
it.
got a friend of mine that's brought a few around to try, and we found that it's a nice beer. It stores well, but after about 4 years, it basically just turns into soy sauce.
Well, and that happens with a lot of beers.
That's
that are
many beers, though.
Yeah,
There's this big misconception. People will buy a beer and they'll put it in their fridge and forget about it. So I'm going to age this for a couple years. Some beers mellow out okay, but other beers, like when a brewery puts a beer in a cask, right, for a couple of years, they've done the aging for you.
right. It's already happened. You're right.
They want you to drink it as soon as you buy it.
That's a good point. Ian, you've got a few that you've been holding on to for a little too long, don't you? No.
I drank them.
Okay.
So I
Good
had
man.
some, and much like what he said, I had a refrigerator full of beers that were, some of them were, 7, 10 years old almost.
Yeah.
And I just, I was like, you know what? I've been hanging on these too long, so I just drank them all.
So
There you go.
Just
Yeah.
Now,
finally
didn't
mowed
you
through
do-
them.
Yeah.
I do have a couple of the 120-minute IPAs, a 2019 and a 2020, I think.
Those are okay to age, in my opinion.
Now,
Yeah.
didn't you do though on a show where I was out? Didn't you bring on a buddy from your drinking
yes,
club and taste a whole bunch
yes.
of beers that may or may not have been past
Some
their
of those
prime?
we had, including a number one Bishop's Barrel and
Oh,
a
there you
number
go.
one Divine Reserve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a few like we
And
had
number
some
one, meaning from
really
way
weird-
back at the
yeah,
beginning
like
of
literally
those,
Divine
yeah.
Reserve
You
one.
got some OGs in there, huh?
Yeah, but
And-
it was funny because a few of them actually held up. Some of them not so much, but a few of them held up.
But you didn't die.
But I don't think we tried a single beer on that show that was less than like 6 or 7 years
Yeah.
old.
Well, and there was even a show, about 2-3 months ago, that I brought in an Imperial Stout, and it was just one I just had too
Yeah.
long. Remember
Uh-huh.
and I don't remember who our guest was, but I remember they said, this kind of tastes like soy sauce. And they weren't like a beer
Yeah.
person, but
Yeah.
Sure.
they nailed it. And you sipped yours, and you were like, "Yep, you're right."
This is
Cruz has
past its prime.
held on to this for too long. So Mountain Fork Brewery,
Yes.
Broken Bow, Oklahoma,
Yep.
which is near the Arkansas border, right?
Yeah, there's a small town also right next to it called Hochatown. It's an unincorporated town, a lot like the Woodlands,
Right.
township. And so you can Google us at Hochatown or Broken Bow, and it's essentially the same city right next to each other. We were founded in 2015. We started off in a really small brewery, started by Mark McDaniel, who just liked beer. You know,
So 2015 is fairly early in
fairly
the
young,
craft. I mean,
yeah.
so many of the breweries that we talk about today were started within the last 3, 4, 5 years.
That's exactly right. I've been in this industry. I have a degree from U of H in beverage management, and so I've been selling beverages of all types. But I've been in craft beer for about 10 years.
Okay.
And so I've seen it grow in the Houston area from 3 breweries to well over 100.
Oh yeah, there's so many breweries now, and new ones opening all the time. It's crazy. I mean, seemed like there was a slight pause during COVID, and then boom, here they came again.
And then COVID happened, and there's an old joke in the beverage industry: if you want to make a small fortune in the craft beer industry, start with a big one.
Yeah.
You know, because
That's good. I like it.
Start with the large portion.
I like it. Well, what else? What else do we want to taste here? And I'll ask you a few more questions.
Yeah. So
about
this is
Mountain
Three
Fort.
Rivers Blonde Ale. This is one of our other flagship beers. Texas is known for a lot of different styles, but blonde ales is a huge one. And we've only been in Texas for a little less than a year now, and then that's when they hired me. I really like this beer. It's unlike some of its other counterparts that are brewed in Texas. This is not too bready. This is essentially the same ABV as the Light 4.5. Really light and easy to drink. Okay. We actually sponsored a NASCAR truck a couple of months ago, and then we served the Light and the Blonde around the track itself, and it really did well.
That's great. I love it. Was this one of the first beers that you brewed? What was your first beer?
The first beer that we actually brewed, I do believe it was a Three Rivers Blonde, but I could be mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Here you go. This is the Blonde.
Thank you.
And it's changed hands. We have a new brewer now than we did whenever we first started. And I've only been with this company for about 6 months.
Okay. And so when you say new brewer, you're talking about new master
new brewer.
Yeah, new master brewer that sets all the recipes.
And he's come in and revamped it. He brewed for Constellation, which is a really big beverage producer. So he understands the science behind it, because brewing beer, making Scotch bourbon, it's a science project, right? And so he does this very, very well, and he's very impassionate about the beverage that he puts out. If it's not good from the brewery, he won't send it out.
That's awesome. It really is, because once you may only get one try.
Yeah, you send out a bad batch of beer
with
and
a
they'll let you
potential
know.
customer. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm already a fan, I'll go, yeah, that one wasn't as good, but I still like blah, blah. But if I'm trying you for the first time, and it isn't excellent, it's going to be tough, because there's so much else to try out there. It's going to be tough to get me back.
In the cigar community, you may try the same stick because you know it, and if it's slight off, you'll let them know. Hopefully you will. I don't know if you will or not.
Yeah.
But there's something off about the stick. Beer's not. Now, this beer has a bit more hops than its counterpart, the Light, because everything that we're going to try now is much heavier than the Light, because the purpose of each beer is to serve the purpose of what its style is. And so the Blonde, Texas, this style has a bit of hops in the finish, a little bit of breadiness, but it's super easy to drink. Still,
I was just about to say, the flavors are full, but the drinkability, the crushability is really every bit as good as the Light.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying the sweetness in the beer. I tend to like beers that have a little more sweet rather than just straight up bitter.
Yeah, straight up hops.
And as weird as that may sound, I love ESBs.
Right.
Yeah.
But
which is straight up bitter.
But there's a place for them, because if you like an ESB, when you get the ESB, you know exactly what you're going in for.
Right.
You know, there's times that I love hops, but I started drinking craft beer by drinking Abbeys.
Okay.
By drinking European beers.
I love sweet beers.
And so that helped me align myself to the rest of the styles that are out there.
Well, this one is very crisp. It really kind of leaves that crispness on your tongue and on the palate.
Yeah.
And yet is still drinkable. And this beer definitely has what I like to call the Doritos effect, which is more please.
Yes.
Because something about at least the rumor is that Doritos are specifically formulated to make you want the next one.
Yeah.
It's
something
scientific.
And your pants expand as you keep eating the bag. So
there's that too.
and that's another thing about the beers that we brew is the owner's passionate about making beer styles. Now, there's other breweries out there, like Martin House, great sours, and they'll put weird Cheeto stuff in their brew.
They'll do all kinds of bizarre stuff, yeah.
But they are true to their brand, just like we are true to ours. We're not going to have pastry stouts. We're not going to have any of those things. We do have a bourbon age stout called Pappy Bucksnort, but that we use our own.
The name.
And so, but that's relegated to Oklahoma. Like we have 21 beers that we brew. 9 of them are in Texas, and
Okay.
and then so there's some that we just keep in our tap room.
Yeah, and I think most breweries now are doing that. There'll
agreed.
be special things that if you go to the tap
And you
room,
brew in
it's
small
only good
batches,
things.
and
Yeah.
people come in and they're having different things. That's one of the we talked about that recently too. Is at the brewery, if a brewery has small batch things and you know that about the brewery, then you end up going to the brewery.
That's exactly right.
For those different
Yeah.
things, what do they have on tap now? What's going on now? I think that's a fun part of having a brewery.
So
Yeah, because Mountain Fork in Oklahoma, and that's one of the things that people said, I think you're lying to me about where you're going to work. There's no mountains in Oklahoma. and I thought, they're kind of right. I should go visit this place. And there are mountains there. It's not Colorado mountains, but
Right.
but I mean, like there's a beautiful dam. There's luxury cabins. There's a few wineries up there. There's distilleries. I mean, it really is a fun place to go. And from the Spring area where I currently live, it's like 6 hours away.
Well, I'm
So,
looking at the illustration on the can, the Mountain Fork logo, if you will.
Yeah.
And those aren't gigantically tall mountains.
No.
They're gentle, smaller mountains.
Gentle, smaller mountains, yes. We're a gentle, smaller brewery company.
But a badass eagle flying over the top of it.
And
That's
can
for
you
sure.
see the
Exactly
hidden
right.
logo within the logo?
Okay, let me see if I can. Hidden logo within the logo. I guess I don't know where to look. Is that
That's Bigfoot.
Is that Sasquatch right there?
That is Bigfoot.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, so we have Bigfoot is our official mascot.
I love that.
And so we have a Netflix documentary special being filmed right now at the brewery itself because we have Bigfoot conventions held by other folks, and do not tell them that it's not real because they'll lose their mind.
Now,
You know,
but let me ask you a question though. Isn't Bigfoot supposedly, from much further north, like Pacific Northwest?
That's his
area?
cousin called the Yeti.
Okay, yeah.
So they don't have a lot of conventions because it's too hard to get there, COVID and all. But no, the Bigfoot is ours in Oklahoma.
Oh, okay, so that's an Oklahoma thing. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and you are absolutely right. Don't tell any of those people
Yes.
that he doesn't exist.
Yes.
It's
Well, much like the ghost, I have no fear of Bigfoot or ghosts, as I've never been bitten by either one.
right, and that's a good thing. It's a
And
very good
I
thing.
prefer to live that way.
Yes.
I like it. So that's great. Bigfoot on the can and
Yeah.
and an eagle flying over. I like it.
That's right.
You mentioned that you had brought in a new master brewer.
Master brewer, yeah.
A little. How long ago was that?
He's been there longer than I have, at least a few years.
How difficult a position is that to fill?
I think if I were the head brewer, it's the same with me. I am their first director of sales and marketing. My counterpart, Greg McGee's in Dallas, coming in, taking all the experience that I learned. I worked for Southern Star for almost 9 years. So taking all that experience and hopefully blessing the company that I'm with. And so you take what you have in front of you, you take what's great about it, and stuff that's not so great, you tweak it. And I'm sure that's the approach that he took, because he is very careful about the water purities and the makeup of just every part of the beer, including the hops and the malted barley. And I'm sure, knowing Johan, he came in and tried everything systematically and said, I like this, I don't like this, and he started tweaking.
Yeah,
You know, and
I would think though that's not just a position you could post on jobs.com or something and find yourself the right person.
Just go to brewbound.com and there's job postings everywhere. But yeah, you have to have the right person who fits in your culture. And I think that's a big part of what today's workforce is. Does this person fit the culture?
Right. No, it's 100% right. 100% right. Now, you mentioned that you spent time with Southern Star.
Yes, sir.
So not to spend this time talking about your former employer.
I would,
Sure.
I would just like to
dude.
thank Southern Star for Buried Hatchet.
Well, that's exactly Buried Hatchet stout.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Like that's just. I mean, that's
Outstanding.
It's almost like a high water
Well,
mark.
it's
for
kind
the-
of a
for the
nod
stout.
to my cat, because everything I know down to be as successful as a person in this industry. It's to Dave Fugeron, who owns the company.
Yeah,
It's a personal
that's awesome.
friend of mine, and so there's no hard feelings at all. They make great beer.
They really do.
And just having the opportunity to make my own mark has been fun too.
All
you
right.
know,
Let's try another one.
Yeah.
What's next?
the next one in our lineup is going to be Hefeweizen, and so this is our Hefeweizen. It's an unfiltered Hefe.
But
this is one of-
that's a
Hochtown.
Hochtown, which
Yeah.
is your
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, so we have a very large Native American population. There's that pop you like to hear.
That
Absolutely.
was awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, and I make sure I'm not.
Oh,
using-
here. I can separate those.
So this is your Hefeweizen.
Yeah, and this does well in stores. Texas loves Hefes, and you have to be careful because the granddaddy of all Hefes in Texas obviously is Live Oak, right?
Man, that is the best Hefeweizen that I even know of.
And so this one is one of my favorite beers, and that's a tricky thing to ask anyone who works at a
Only- we need one
brewery.
more.
Is
you.
what's your favorite beer?
Yeah.
And my response is to the one I'm currently drinking.
Oh, I see. That's like when they ask Tom Brady what his favorite Super Bowl ring is, and he always says the next one.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yes.
it's kind of the same sort of answer. So the Hefeweizen, yeah. I was
I sense
sort
much
of
banana in this
introduced to Hefeweizens when I lived up in the Boston area
Yeah.
because Harpoon has a great
Yes,
Hefeweizen.
they have great beer, and
Yeah.
this one is banana, bubblegum, and a little bit of clove. Hefeweizens, I feel, when I'm doing my tastings out in public, they either like them or they don't, or, it's maybe not a preferred style, but this is a great food beer. This
It's
is
really balanced,
Yeah,
too, if
and
you
it's
think
only
about it.
4.5% alcohol.
They can have a little too much funk to them.
Yes, this
And
one
this
does
one does
not.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
really
I
easy to
agree.
drink.
I agree. Sometimes it's got almost like a sort of a taste that it leaves in your mouth. This one doesn't. You really get to concentrate on the banana. And you said bubblegum. I
Yeah.
mean, it's seriously there. Yeah, it's seriously
It's
there,
there,
but in
like,
a good way.
like
in a good way.
classic, like
Yeah.
out of the baseball cards,
Yeah.
bubble gum.
Yeah, and I used to sell wine, and some of the descriptors that you guys said in cigars is not different. It's like,
Right.
oh, this red wine's got shoe leather and manure or whatever. And then to you, it's like, why would you ever give something that type of a descriptor? But you said it yourself, like, when you were describing the first steak you had today, some of the things like pepper. Would you really get pepper out of that? It's like, well, yeah, it's not that they're dipping the thing in pepper. It's just the spicy notes that you get from the tobacco itself.
Exactly, and what it leaves, the impression that it leaves on your tongue and on
That's
your
exactly
palate.
right, yeah.
So yeah, we often talk about beers, especially farmhouse ales and saisons and some sours as having a distinct funk.
Well, yeah,
but
that's
funk isn't always a bad thing.
That's the Brett, right?
But I don't really want a lot of funk in my Hefeweizen.
No.
Because
This is a nice
It's
banana.
almost
Very
like
clean.
a coriander kind of aftertaste thing going on too.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about
Just a kiss of it.
really easy to drink. And so this does well. We serve this at Heights Beer Garden quite often, and it does well there too.
I
Oh,
bet.
nice.
Now, what's the ABV on this one?
4.5.
4.5. Okay.
Yeah.
So-
Now we'll get into the higher ones here in a minute, but our next one is our Timber Creek Amber. This one is special to me because I have currently sold several cases of this to most HEBs in the city of Houston. So right now we're on sale at HEBs and Kroger's right now.
So you mentioned HEB. That was
Yeah.
actually how we connected with you guys to get you on the show because
Yeah.
you were doing a tasting at an HEB, and my
Yes.
wife was there, who also books the guests for the show. She was there buying me beers and talked to the gentleman who was doing the tasting and set up for you guys to come in and let us do a
And
big
that
tasting
was-
here on the show. So
And that was me. And I got to tell you that's such a huge part of this is that with the competition that's in craft beer and beverages in general, you have to do tastings.
you really do, don't
Yeah,
you?
you have
I'm
to.
sure it has a direct impact on sales.
So here's the thing about tastings, okay? When you walk up to somebody who is handing out tastings and you are a representative
Yeah.
from the company,
Yep.
that makes a huge difference. One of the things that truly annoys me is when they just hire somebody
Yeah.
A spokesmodel.
that knows nothing about the beer because you
Yeah.
ask a question, they're like, well, I don't know. Or they give you
Yeah.
obviously wrong answers,
Yeah.
Like, which one is more malty? Oh, this IPA.
yeah.
Well, and that's why what I do, because I'm like Santa Claus, I can't be in more than one place. So I've got helpers, right? And so we call them brand ambassadors or the preach the good news of craft beer. But I train them. And the first question I ask is, do you like craft beer? Do you love craft beer? What brands do you drink? Because typically, if they can talk passionately, even if it's Shiner Bock, if they can talk passionately about Shiner Bock, I can teach them how to
that's right.
sample our beers, and you can have a passion about it.
This is delicious, by the way.
That's quite good.
This is my favorite that we've had so far. It's just absolutely full flavored on the tongue, and it does not have. And we mentioned this with blondes. Sometimes it's really present with ambers too. That sort of dry, little bit of funky.
Yeah.
I got
bitterness on the end. This has none of that.
I gotta say on this, you're straddling the line between like this is you're calling this an amber.
Yeah.
This is like just a little bit left of this, and you could almost have an ESB or a red ale.
Right.
Yeah, and this does well for
It's
us.
just a hair over, you know.
Well, and I purposely created a project around this in stores because we're moving into the beer world multi seasons, Christmas, Thanksgivings. We have a stout coming out next week, and we also have an old English ale coming out too, right? So called the Crumpet, and so we're moving in that direction. And since we're so
Will those
new
be
to
available?
Houston, yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna look
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, so we have the MFB 9.0. TABC called us and said, "What does the MFB stand for?" Mountain Fork Brewery, ma'am. I'm not sure what you're thinking about, but it's a 9% stout.
So it does make you wonder if our friends at St. Arnold got a call when they released the Raspberry AF. Right? If
They could.
They may
could
have had to
have.
may have had to field a call about that. All right, let's take a break. We
Got
will
it.
be back. We are enjoying these. This has been really good so far because you've kind of ramped each one up perfectly. But I will say the amber is my favorite so far. This is just a delicious beer. Absolutely, absolutely wonderful. We'll be back. It's Smoking and Toasting, and we're here on show number 258, and we'll be right back.
Hey, do you have more cups?
Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Show number 258. We are brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. Available on the web at MyCigarShirts.com because...
Cigars.
Yes, sir. Liquor.com, one of our favorite websites, has a wonderful new list, and I'm always thrilled anytime we get a new list. This list is 8 new single malt scotches for you to try right now. Right now, yeah. They definitely go for the... so here comes 8. They start out with... And Ian... If you wanted to think about this for a gift from me for Christmas this year, I would not in any way be disappointed.
I did okay last year, right?
You did great last year. Yeah, you really did.
It's $10,000, isn't it?
No, it's not quite that bad. No, I will say, though, Ian totally scored on my Christmas gift last year. He got me the bottle of Angel's Envy rye that was inscribed with my name on the bottle. It was really nice. Really nice. It was just... and where did you got that at the distillery, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a special one. So that you've set a fairly high bar, I guess.
Oh, it only goes downhill now.
Well, then...
Like within 3 Christmases, you're getting 3 sticks of bubble gum.
You're getting crowned this year. So.
I guess I shouldn't count on the Ardbeg 19-year-old Trey Bond then, which is it's 300. It's
That
not
might
like,
be peaty for you.
Yeah, it might be, but I bet I would like it. I bet I would like it. I've been taking steps down the peaty trail. I'm
Are
doing
you
better.
sucking on peat moss out in the yard or something?
Exactly. When I grew up, my dad owned a greenhouse business for a while. I'm very familiar with peat moss.
Peat conditioning.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I tell you what, Ian, you can get me the second single malt on this, the Jura 12-year. It's only $50.
Ah, yeah.
See, so that's
Which is delicious. We had when we had them on the show.
Yes, it is an intense and vibrant addition to the Jura line, and it is matured in ex-bourbon barrels and finished in Oloroso sherry casks. So
nice.
These are all good things, right? These are all good things. There's the Highland Park Cask Strength Release number 2, which is retailing for $90. It's the follow-up to their Cask Strength number 1, which makes sense, I guess. But that came out last year. This one is here this year, and it's from Highland Park Distillery, and represents, the producers say, single malt in its purest form. I don't know what that means, but it sounds like a good advertising line, doesn't it? All right. If you don't want to get me the
Jura.
the Jura, you can always go with the Lafroig 10-year-old sherry finish. It's 90.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a new expression combining the super smoky Lafroig with the sweet aromatics derived from 12 months of maturity in an Oloroso sherry cask.
That should be really interesting.
That does sound
very
interesting,
intrigued
doesn't it?
by that.
They also bottled it at cask strength, so it's 48%.
Nice.
Yeah, so something to look for.
I have actually a couple of cask strength Lafroigs that are.
Do you really?
Yeah, that are quite good. We've had a couple of them on the show.
That's right, we have. It's been a while. It's been a while since we did a peated Scotch.
Yeah, I have the small cask, and then I have the Gorgeous, and then I have. I can't remember what the third one is. I have to look at my PD shelf.
Is Lafroig your go-to for peaty Scotch, or do you?
I do love Lafroig.
Ardbeg?
Ardbeg is good. Ardbeg is a little more single-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
In a good way. I mean, I say single-dimensional. You were mentioning earlier about like all the like all the different things you get. Sometimes when you want a steak, you don't need it to be multi-dimensional steak, right? So Ardbeg is very much like that.
Yeah, yeah. What about Oban?
Oban's quite good. I think I have one bottle of Oban on my shelf.
Okay, all right. Well, so you actually have a fairly large position on the peated Scotch.
I have a peated Scotch section. Yes,
I love it. Coming in at $130 is the Port Charlotte PAC:01, the PAC:01, the 2011. It is from Brooklotic, and so it's a very interesting Scotch made from 2 parcels of heavily peated single malt distilled in 2011. The first one was aged for 6 years in ex-American whiskey casks, followed by about 2 years in red wine casks from France's Bordeaux region. And then the second parcel was aged for 7 years in ex-American whiskey casks, and then spent the remainder of its life in French red wine casks.
Wow.
And the bottling is described as being aged for 8 years. So this is they've definitely pulled some interesting
Sounds
tricks
like
here.
they've got a lot of things going on in there.
It sounds like it's out of my budget already.
Right. All right, Ian. I understand. I've thrown some big stuff at you here, and I don't really expect you to give me any of that for Christmas. What I do hope you will consider, however, is the Talisker Expedition Oak 43-year-old. It's only 4,000.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah, but it's the oldest Talisker bottling to date, finished in casks made with staves that crossed the Atlantic from La Gomera, Spain, to the island of Antigua over the course of 24 days. All that's important, I'm sure. Upon completion of the crossing, the staves were very carefully returned to Scotland to complete the final maturation of this particular bottling. Every bottle purchase will be accompanied by a piece of one of the actual staves.
All right.
You get a piece of one of the staves with it. Bottled at 49.7. There are only 1,830 bottles of this rare whiskey that came out this year, and so in honor of the founding year of Talisker, they have made sure that those bottles will last by pricing them at $4,000 a piece.
Right.
So I suppose they'll last. Who knows? The Tora Bag Alt Glean is $62. It's the first whiskey distillery to be built in the Isle of Skye in 190 years.
All right.
I don't
It's
know
a new
that
one.
one. I haven't had that one. Yeah, it's
And
the new
then-
Kids on the Block.
And then there's the X by Glenmorangie. $34.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Developed specifically as an approachable Scotch meant for mixing, intended to lure new whiskey drinkers. It's a sweeter style single malt, and it came out in June.
I'll tell you
this
something
year.
about Glenmorangie. Their Scotch and their pricing are pretty unbelievable.
They really are. I mean, if you think about some of the amazing Scotches we've tried that if they just poured it for you and you taste it, you're like, oh, I'm sure this is a $150 bottle, and then you find out it's $80.
The
Wow.
Glenmorangie
Yeah.
La Santa, I was easily paying $65, not batting an eye for it. You can go get it at Specs right now. It's $45 or $46.
Wow, really?
And it's amazing. That is
fantastic.
just a wonderful,
it is a
wonderful Scotch.
100%.
It truly
If
is.
you're not a Scotch drinker and you want to blow people away with a badass Scotch, You don't even have to break the bank for that one.
I love it.
Great.
I love it. We are not tasting a Scotch today, but we are tasting a
Now I want
rum.
to.
Yeah, I know. That's one of the things. We always seem to do that. If we've got a big story about rum, our taster is almost always
Does
a
anybody
tequila.
have pancakes?
So yes, absolutely. You're gonna find that. So going back to the very early days of this program,
Yeah.
one of the first rums that we ever did a tasting on the show was a Papa's Pilar. And Papa's Pilar is they're very Hemingway inspired with all of the stuff that they do. And Papa's Pilar is, they don't have a lot of expressions, but this is their 24, I'm sorry, I'm going to get this wrong, so let me look at my notes so I don't mess this up. The one that we are trying here today is the Papa's Pilar 24 Dark Rum. So it says a little bit on the bottle, Ian, about what the 24 is. It's 24 Solera. So they've tried, I think, 24 different things. It's a blended
It
rum.
says 24 Solera profile dark rum, and then sources
really
Dominican
good.
Republic, Florida,
Sweet.
Venezuela, Panama,
Right, so it
Barbados.
comes from everywhere.
Distillation, pot and column still, blending Solera blended in bourbon barrels, port, wine cask, and Spanish
Wow,
sherry
this is actually
cask.
really good.
They've just thrown everything into this.
Papa's
you know?
Pilar rum was inspired by Ernest Hemingway's passion for adventure and a good drink at the end of the day. Crossing the Caribbean in his yacht, the Pilar, Papa's restless spirit and seafaring exploits inspired us to rediscover the finest rums from his favorite ports of call. In true Hemingway spirit, the Hemingway family donates a portion of their profits from Papa's Pilar rum to charity. The number 24 represents the 24th Solera taste profile in their artisanal blend.
Oh, it's a 24th different profile. Fascinating. Well, it is really good. I noticed that.
Like, I haven't even tried mine yet, but this smells like maple syrup.
This is really good.
I
actually.
noticed that the description stopped short, though, of telling us how we do actually deal with the drunken sailor.
No, it doesn't say anything about how to deal with a drunken sailor.
But it might as well say maple.
Yeah.
Spicy maple syrup. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
Yeah. This is.
It's,
you could really pour this over pancakes or
What does this
waffles.
cost? You know?
That is about a $34 bottle of rum.
Well, that is wonderful, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah, it really is. Now, I know we enjoyed the first Papa's
heat.
Pilar we had. But this one is a darker.
It's got some heat on the finish, doesn't it?
The heat on the finish doesn't hit you in a
No.
harsh way, but it creeps up and just gives you this warm rum hug from
Well, sometimes the
behind,
burn
like, a
is-
little too familiar.
Yeah, sometimes the burn is just indicative of it's just too young, right? You know, so this is actually really well balanced with the burn. I don't mind it a whole lot. It's actually
I think it tastes expensive. You know what I mean when I say that?
Cane,
Like,
that raw cane sugar kind of.
if you tasted this though, and I told you, yeah, it's a $100 bottle of rum, I don't think you'd be surprised.
There's
So I
a
have-
real beautiful, interesting oak dryness on it too.
So what stick would you pair with this?
Steak?
Stick.
Oh, stick. I got you.
Cigar.
Well, I would probably put a Hemingway with it. I mean,
Oh,
why not?
yeah, it says something on
Hemingway
it.
short story.
Yeah, why not? Right? So a Hemingway
Are
short
you-
story would be a lighter stick. That's a
Well, you could do that, and the
That's
rum wouldn't overpower.
a nice mild to medium, but I think the flavor profile of the stick itself, plus this right here, I think those flavor profiles would work together rather than one covering the other up. So I think it would be one of those nice.
I'd love to try the Aladino Lancero Maduro with one of these.
Yeah, I bet that'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
The thing
Nah,
about
it's
a
good.
rum like this, especially, is almost any stick
Would
Right.
do well with
will
it.
do well with this.
No, that's true because rum is really one of the easiest spirits to pair with a cigar.
I would
Yeah.
say, however, I would be a little bit cautious about sticks that are a little too peppery because with the heat that this gives you in the
Oh,
back,
It can make it more.
it could
yeah, I got it.
exacerbate
Yeah.
the pepper, and those two things could build a little bit. But overall, I don't think.
Are you-
I think you could almost get anything.
Are
out
you
of
getting any butterscotch here?
it. I could be conned into talking about it.
Old man
is.
candy in your pocket kind of butterscotch, huh?
Right.
Yeah, the kind where you got to
Scary,
actually
but-
peel the candy off of the
Yeah.
wrapper,
Right.
and then it rips. So then you got to dig your fingernail into it. You know,
You
what
know,
I'm talking about.
these
We're
days,
getting real here.
But these days, I don't think kids eat candy like that anymore. Like
No.
the kind your grandma used to give you. Do they even still make? Like, remember those square they were like caramel squares. I don't even know what they're called now. They even still make. I've never seen one. I haven't seen one of those for years.
I haven't seen them either because the creepy old grandmother candy probably doesn't have a market anymore.
This has such an interesting, almost banana kind of flavor in there.
So
too.
Are you going back to the Hefeweizen?
I'm going back to the Hefeweizen because I'm super interested to see what happens.
Okay.
You're going to get drunk is what's going to happen.
You know.
I dig this. This
So-
is really...
Yeah, that's what you got.
Pour yourself a little of the Hefeweizen because it's an interesting thing that it does.
I think it was that cup.
And I'm going to say this right before you take a sip.
Okay.
Lemonade.
Lemonade.
Dude.
It's the weirdest thing. And in a good way.
And in a wonderfully good way. Yeah. Like the banana almost disappears and it becomes like a very lemony... Yeah, you got to try a little more of the rum and then go to the Hefeweizen.
I do like the cap on this though. Like the marketing guys did a great job.
They moderned it up a little bit.
It's good for me because I can't lose it, you know.
The cap, so on the camera here, this is the
All right,
bottle.
I'm going to try the
And the
rum.
cap is actually tethered.
That happened to me, by the way, with I was making martinis earlier this week, and I set the shaker down, and the right.
That's pretty wild, huh?
I set the shaker down, and the top jumped off, which happens sometimes from the pressure.
Yeah.
Only thing is, I haven't been able to find it, so now I have a shaker I can't use because there's no. I looked everywhere under the
place
cabinets.
is not that big.
My place is small. Are you kidding me? I should found it in seconds. So now I've started using my other shaker, which is bigger.
Yeah.
And you know what that leads to?
Bigger drinks.
Bigger
yes,
drinks,
yes.
exactly. So,
Not the worst thing to happen. This is delicious and it's fun. I know this is not the way the Hefe was intended to be drank, but it makes it adds a level of fun to the Hefe too.
it really kind of does.
When I was in college, my professor, who was my wine professor, name dropped Kevin Simon, great guy. His definition of alcohol was to intoxicate and invigorate.
Oh, I like
So,
that.
there you go.
I don't think I've heard that before. That's good. That's really good. Mountain Fork Brewery, are you guys... first of all, tell me a little about the craft brewing scene in Oklahoma, because I really only know of a couple of craft breweries.
It's grown a whole lot. Prairie has really put the state on
Prairie
the...
Artisan Ales, yeah.
And they do great work. Coop has done great work, too. They're kind of Shinerbach of there's Oklahoma itself.
Right.
And then... so there's several craft beer breweries that have been popping up, especially in Ho Chi Town. We have a population of 300 people, and
half of them work at a brewery.
Yeah, half of them work at a brewery, a casino, but we see 2.5 million people every year. 70% of those are Texans.
Oh wow!
And so we have, I think, 3 breweries, a distillery, a couple of wineries, and so the craft alcohol scene in Oklahoma is really popping up.
I got to visit New Mexico earlier this year and was really thrilled with some of the craft breweries that I found up in the Albuquerque area. Was very interesting, and I knew of Santa Fe Brewing Company was the only one I actually knew about. There's a ton of them up there.
And they're huge.
Wasn't Oklahoma also responsible for? Trying to remember the name of the group, but they had they were the pop group and they had the beer hops.
The Hansons?
The Hansons.
Yeah.
This is one of the
Hops.
This is one of the minutes that I'm glad I'm from Texas.
Yeah. All right. So and also through a course of part of my career, I've lived in Oklahoma as well. I lived in Oklahoma City, the city that wants to be Dallas more than any other city in the world is Oklahoma City. But I lived there, so I can say this. We got to talk to Oklahoma about their state motto.
What's the state motto?
You could not have set the bar lower for a state. The state motto of Oklahoma, the one that's on the license plates, Oklahoma is okay. And I understand what they're getting at because
we talked about this
that's
the
the
other day.
abbreviation for the state.
Yeah.
But come on, you're not convincing me I need to come there and visit. You know what I'm saying?
But I will tell you that we produced Reba McEntire. So I mean, there's some good stuff coming out of there.
And Blake Shelton. So yeah.
Yeah.
And now Gwen Stefani. So.
And then I think Tim McGraw too.
Yeah, I think that maybe
See here, rum was spilling out of the bottle. So
Well-
fortunately, I put my glass under it in time.
Okay, that's
see.
good. I appreciate your taking one for the team. There.
Yeah,
That's good. Well, I'll tell you something though. It's really interesting because there's so much going on in Texas.
That's exactly
craft
right.
brewery wise. It's really interesting to be able to see what's happening, just around the state, and you guys are definitely representing that is for sure. All right, I tell you what, we're going to take a break because it's just about time for that legendary segment of the program known far and wide as Drinking News.
Drinking
That
News
will be coming up
next.
in the next one. Plus, we have
Two more beers.
Still have 2 more beers. All right,
Two last beers.
Very
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
We will look forward to both of those beers at Smoking the Toast.
I'm gonna pull one out.
Me.
Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. It's the program that is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. It's show number 258, and we are very happy to have Omar Viengar from the Mountain Fork Brewing Company in. He brought lots of beers, and
Lots
they've
of
all
beers.
been fantastic so far. And we haven't even got to
Pretty happy with it.
We haven't
Yeah.
even got to the higher ABV stuff. It's
No,
coming.
not yet. But I want to compliment you guys on your bumper music. Is a lot of funk.
Oh well, yeah, it's
A lot of great funk there.
funky funk, and
Especially
funky.
that last one. That band's
Yeah.
badass.
Yeah, they that band had a guitar player. I mean, they'd still be around today. They'd be topping the charts. If only.
Yeah, they're having fun with me.
Yeah, at your expense. That's how we like to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, the program has come to a screeching halt because it's time for Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news, drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. All right, Drinking News, as we like to remind you about this time every show, Drinking News is a story that has appeared somewhere in the news. It's not like from The Onion or a made-up site. It at least pretends to be true on one of the more mainstream spots where we can find news. Drinking News is occasionally stories about drinking and almost always stories that are better enjoyed if you've been drinking.
And about 70% of the time starts with the sentence,
A Florida
Florida
man
man.
is due in court this week. Florida man is due in court this week after being arrested on charges of indecent exposure last year.
of course.
59-year-old John Allen Pace was being held without bond at the Sumter County Detention Center since his arrest for allegedly exposing himself at the Publix store
Okay.
at Southern Trace Plaza. Now, witnesses say the man was standing outside his truck with his pants unzipped,
All right.
his business visible outside his pants,
Okay.
and was enjoying a little me time in public. Or in this case, in Publix. Right,
Plural.
Right, yeah. Police say the man got into his truck and drove away, making a beeline for a nearby Arby's restaurant.
Well, you get hungry after.
That's
Oh,
where
he's got a schedule to keep.
I
Come
mean-
on.
yeah, that's where Pace, who has apparently a rather long record for indecent exposure,
All right.
was arrested by officers and taken into custody.
So they expected him to be at the Arby's? It was like,
Well,
I'm done
Come on,
at the
Earl, it's
Publix.
time to go.
Now I got to get to my next appointment.
well, witnesses identified him there and said that Pace told them that he was planning to do the same thing at Arby's that he'd done at the Publix because of their advertising slogan. In case you're not familiar with it, Arby's current advertising plug line is, "We've got the meats."
Oh, yeah.
That's your Florida man in action, and that is your
Drinking news, drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all.
I guess we all have to have a hobby.
Hey, go with what you're good at.
That's exactly right. Oh, well.
Know thyself.
Biblically.
Well.
Yeah. So you guys, do you have the typical sort of brewery tap room set up at
Yeah,
Mountain
we have a
Fork? People
restaurant
can come
actually
in?
too.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow, that's very cool.
Yeah, so we serve excellent pizza. Excellent pizza. The best in Oklahoma. And we have great burgers. We have lots of pasta dishes and wings and all the things that you would want to find. And 21 beautiful taps. Like some of the best beers. And we are family friendly as well. You know,
that's
so,
very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of Ho Chi Town is built on tourism. And so we have petting zoos and that kind of stuff and a huge walk around maze. And so we do well. We have live music. We have a great merch station as well too, and part of the owners own a winery. So there's lots of things. If your spouse can't stand beer, we have wine. You know. So.
My suggestion, by the way, if you're going to go, and I think you should, is to do the walk around maze before you do the tap room.
No. It's more fun if you do it after the tap room.
Yeah, but has there been anybody who couldn't get out?
Doesn't matter at that point. It's not our problem.
All right.
They probably go, but they probably go from there to the Arby's. I don't know.
He says it's out of our hands.
I got that.
That's an SEP.
Yeah, I believe you are correct. So, so you've already had us taste
Yes.
a number of beers. They've all
Yeah.
been fairly much on the light side. Are we stepping up with the
We
next
are
one?
stepping up. The rest were crushable, right? Like these are still, they could be crushable too. But the next one that
I
we're
love
gonna,
a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with the higher ABV and go lower only because the last beer is a hazy, and so I don't want to wreck your
Okay.
palate right away.
Fair enough.
So this is our flagship beer, Sneaky Snake.
I love the name of it.
Sneaky Snake.
I
This
noticed
is
that
yeah.
your pint glass here has a whole bunch.
It's got all our beers on there. Yeah,
all
our
the
beers on it.
The
Yeah.
Rooster, MFB 9.0.
Now this is our
MFB could I could see where someone could misconstrue that.
Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson made the beer for us. I guess we'll let him name it. So I'm just kidding. I don't know.
I thought maybe it was Tom T. Hall.
Tom
and
T.
I
Hall.
just dated myself with that reference. But yeah, Sneaky Snake is, I'm taking it an IPA, right?
No, this is a Belgian Golden Ale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was seeing the green. I was just kind of thinking,
Yeah,
the green on
you
the
would
can. I
think
was
that.
thinking maybe we were going hops here.
No,
but,
this is a Belgian Golden Ale. It's 8.9% alcohol. What is interesting about that, because we call it Sneaky Snake because it drinks like a 5.
It's so fruity.
Yeah, it's fruity and smooth. It's really
sweet.
easy to drink.
but it definitely has that Belgian malt characteristic.
Yeah,
And it's got funk in the good
Yeah.
way.
And I have tasted this beer at an HEB in the Pearland area where they don't sell a lot of craft, and I'll have people who don't like craft purchase that beer.
This has a
Yeah.
little bit of a champagne quality
Yeah,
because
it's got-
there's a
yeah.
little more there's a little more carbonation in here than I
Yeah.
would have expected from the style.
And it's got a
But
bit of
it
old
doesn't
world.
really
Yeah.
it doesn't really detract.
And as far as the funk,
Yeah.
I'm really feeling that this is one of the times when it's appropriate to say that we want the funk.
We want the
Yeah.
funk. Yeah.
Gotta have that funk.
The funk is good in this.
Yeah, gotta have that funk.
Yeah.
And we make outstanding beers, and I think that's what I want people to know about Mountain Fork Brewing Company, is that with all the choices that you have, trying local doesn't always mean drink Texas local. You should support, but kind of get out of your bubble and then try some other
Be willing
local
to
brands
be
too.
willing to be regional. Yeah,
We only have like 12 employees working for us.
yeah, that's really
know, so
interesting.
we're
Yeah.
small.
How much beer do you guys produce?
We're about 9,000 barrels,
Okay,
and so we're trying to grow past that.
so
past that.
you're
Yeah.
still definitely a small brewery.
Yes, absolutely.
Interesting. Has Oklahoma embraced you in the same way that, say, a St. Arnold or a Southern Star has been embraced here in Texas?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah. And so the majority of our sales is of course is sold in Oklahoma, and the little logo here, Independent Craft.
Independent craft, right?
Texas has the same logo too, and so we support our state in every way that Texas would support their state too.
So but I want to ask you a question, because you're in the marketing
Yeah.
area with a brewery like Mountain
Yeah.
Fork. One of the things I find so interesting, I love this as a consumer of craft beer.
Yes.
the fact that there's so much out there that I can just keep trying different stuff all the
You
time.
could try a new beer every 6 months. Probably would not taste the same one twice.
Absolutely. So, with that in mind, though, if it's your job to make sure you get fans that keep coming back, is that more challenging now that there's so much out there? And how do you go about it? How do you draw up a game plan that says, okay, I want people to be fans of our beer and our
We
lineup?
have to meet them where they are, you know. And so when you walk into, for example, an HEB and Kroger's, and you look at the cold box and you see all the choices, why would I try that?
Right.
Typically, people still play it safe, and they'll start drinking IPAs from their favorite brewery. But if I want them to try mine, sampling is where it's at.
Right.
Promotional on Instagram, Facebook, videos.
Being on shows like Smoking
Doing on
Toastin'.
show. This is the premiere. I think I've died and gone to marketing heaven here. But that's how we do it, because a lot of people buy the brand itself more than the beer, right?
Sure.
So
it's an identification thing.
yes,
Yeah.
and so build the brand, and then they will come, and so hopefully I can, while I have 9 beers here,
they will come.
That in a world where they brew beer, but so that's why we have 9 beers. Is maybe they're not a fan of the light, but they like Sneaky Snake, or they like the Chi Weizen or Timber Creek. They're gonna find a beer that they can resonate with, And so if you drink Bud Light, that's all you drink. But if you drink craft, you're gonna try it all.
I'm always a little amazed by guys who they have one beer that they drink, and that's the only beer that they drink, and they don't even want to try other beers. And there are a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's bizarre to me. That's like, don't you ever want a different topping on your pizza, or wouldn't you rather have something other than pizza tonight? That's so bizarre to me. This is the only thing I ever drink.
Well, you know what I struggle with those when I see those guys in Specs or in the beer store.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll even be like a couple of them together. They'll be buying beer. I see them talking about and grabbing the Bud Light, and then I'm at war with myself, because there's this part of me that wants to go, guys, you don't have to do that.
Stop.
Yeah.
Think about what you're doing.
Right. Come on. Let me show you something you would like better. And I'm not trying to, sell them a Russian Imperial Stout or a triple IPA. Let me show you a light beer that has better flavor. But then there's the other part of me that's like, dude, you do not want to be that guy. You do not want to be that beer snob guy. Let people drink what they like. But still, that's the war. And it happens to me all the time, especially at the grocery store.
Well, and that's when I go to bars, and I'm typically walking around talking about our beer, and they're like, no, I've already got a Bud Light, or I've got this macro beer. I'm like, oh, well, please keep drinking your favorite, but I want you to try this just in case. Just try this, because if you go to another bar and they don't have your favorite, then you at least know something different.
Right.
And so so that's the approach that I take.
Yeah.
Because people got to start from somewhere.
It's always easier, though, when you can, give them the sample.
Yes.
Right?
It's so much
as
easier.
opposed to having to talk them into buying that first sample. You know what I mean?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. But that makes sense, and that's why these events, it's why I'm so glad that bars and restaurants are open again.
Oh, so am I.
Yeah. So, all right. So now here's a good question for you. You go to a restaurant. It's a decent place where the food is good. You look at the beer menu, and it's not great.
Yeah.
It's just Silver Star's best.
It's just it's macro brews and Carbach. Let's say.
Yeah.
Silver Star's best.
Right. Silver Star's best, right?
Or whatever.
So, or
whoever they're.
right.
And I've been there before,
distributors.
where I'm looking at it and I feel sad, because I'm like, you're in the heart of, example, Cypress, Texas.
Yeah.
And you don't even have your local breweries on there. You
Right,
are
right.
missing out on supporting local, but also introducing to your restaurant guests something that's cool, because then you can open their palates up, and it's all about dollars, right?
Right.
But a lot of times,
So how can I, as the customer, in a way that's not just being a jerk at the restaurant, how can I most effectively make a comment, ask for something to be told? That I feel like I always want to say, hey, look, I'm a customer. I'm about to drop some serious money here on dinner. Would you please let the person who puts your beer menu together know that customers are asking for better beer?
A couple things too. Like, you can ask the bartender, but the bartender, not unless the bar manager has zero control, and they probably get told that 1,000 times a day. Ask to see the manager. And then if you're passionate about, like, if that's your spot, email the restaurant chain.
Are you being a jerk when you do that?
No, because you're the one paying the beer. You know,
Right.
You're keeping them in business. And when I was a chef and I was a restaurant guy, I valued opinions. Like, I really wish you had this wine on the menu. And sometimes things are corporately driven, where because of menu costs, it just costs too much to add something new all the time, right?
Right.
You know, but you can ask. You are the consumer. So I think you should at least do your due diligence and ask.
I don't know if I'm more disappointed when a bar has like 5 taps and not much choices in beer, or when you go into somewhere like, and don't get me wrong, I like
Buffalo
the wings at
Wild
Buffalo
Wings,
Wild Wings,
yeah.
but this is the best example of they have something like 18 to 20 taps.
Yeah.
And one
2
drinkable
good beers.
Yeah, 2 drinkable beers.
They have
yeah.
Shiner and they have Sam Adams, and that's it. Like everything else is crap.
It all goes back to corporately driven menus.
Right. And you're like, seriously, you needed to have Bud Light Ice on tap? Yeah. Bud Light and Bud Ice weren't enough. You had to have Bud Light Ice on tap?
I call those mullet juice. You know, like they're not going to grow
good.
themselves. So,
Mullet juice. I
Really
love
good.
it.
That is really good. But it 100% is. Now, I won't name the restaurant, but there's a restaurant I go to from time to time that is the place where I first tried Lone Pint's Yellow Rose IPA, which to this day
Blake and Heather
is
do a
one of my
great job brewing that
absolute
beer.
favorites. Right.
Yeah.
It was wonderful, and I became a fan. And I went back to this restaurant again, 6 months, a year later, and the beer menu was horrible. And it's like, what happened? But come to find out, they had a different guy who was now
Different bar
responsible for
manager
putting
and-
the menu together. And for some of them, and this is what I like to fight against the most, it's just easier to let their Anheuser-Busch rep say, look, put in
We got you
Bud
all
and Bud
covered on
Light,
this
and
one
we got
truck.
you covered. You can have Hopadillo from
There's your
from
crap
Carb
brew.
Out.
well, they get
There's
beer
your craft beer.
styles. Like,
Right.
okay, do I have an IPA? Do I have a dark beer? Do I have a light beer?
Right.
You know, and then so if they can get
But they
all
never
those
have
from
a
one
dark
distributor,
Yeah, they never do.
and they should, because
They
I'm a
never
dark
have
beer
a dark
guy.
beer.
And that's why I love Irish bars, because you get lots of dark beers.
I like Irish bars is because where I learned one of my favorite Irish songs, which I love to sing on St. Patrick's Day. I'll do a little of it for you if you like.
Yes,
It
please
goes,
do.
We're gonna drink and fight. Drink and fight. And it goes on. But
I didn't get all those lyrics. Can you repeat that?
That's only in Irish bars will you enjoy.
How did you know my family reunion chant? I don't understand that. I mean, you just kind of dove right into it.
Hey, I bet if you want to make things a little nutty at your house, all you have to do is put on "Jump Around" by House of Pain.
Oh,
That is like the Irish bar anthem. You take any Irish bar
no.
and turn it upside
When
down.
I was in the Navy, it was you get up again and what's that one song?
Oh, when I get knocked down, I get
get
up.
up again. Yeah.
It's Chumbawamba.
Chumbawamba, yeah.
Or don't forget, I would walk 500 miles.
Oh yeah, you got to go there.
Chumbawamba is Irish for amateurs because that's not.
Is that what Chumba?
No,
I
I
always
have no
wondered what Chumbawamba meant, and now I think we know. All right, let's try this. Let's
this
try
is
this
our-
remaining beer. This is the. Oh, this is the one with the
This
interesting
is the
name.
Gentleman Jackalope.
All right, so I thought jackalope was a Texas thing. Apparently, is it an Oklahoma thing as well?
Oh yes, it's a southern thing, sir.
Not to be confused with the Bassalope.
The Bassalope.
Okay, so here's the Bassalope.
Have you never saw Bloom County
Oh yeah,
had the Bassalope?
Right, Bloom County was a highly underrated comic strip.
Yes.
Highly underrated.
So this hop, the principal hops matter, right? When you talk about an IPA, this one is Citra.
Citra is probably my favorite, even though it's widely used. It's just such a versatile hop.
Now, here's something about this beer. Okay, so this is a unfiltered hazy, but it's not a New England hazy, which most hazies are. This is a West Coast style hazy, and so there's more of a malt to hop balance. You know, so if you like a really good, maybe a hazy pale ale, but it's a really just a fantastic beer.
So the profile is more like a Stone or a Dogfish Head.
I was about to say, very much more like that.
This is 7% too, by the way.
Because it's not brutal, like hop slapping your face. And
This
it's
is enjoyable.
not bitter, resinous, like at the end of it either.
Yeah.
Agree. But it definitely has some hop kick to it.
Oh yeah.
It's
know?
interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it back to. I'm not the biggest fan of all IPAs. I like some. I like them when they're done well.
It's how we balance. I'm the IPA guy.
But-
Ian is very picky about them.
But here's the thing: if I'm going to have one, someone like Stone or there's a few other breweries that, like you said, Dogfish Head, their 90-minute IPA, it knocks it out of the park for me. Like those are some of the best IPAs I know
Even
of.
the
Or
60
Yeah.
is
Or the,
highly
the
underrated.
The 60, yeah,
or the
it's fantastic.
Two-Hearted
Yeah.
Ale, like those IPAs are legendary, and they're so good and so well balanced. This right here has a little bit of that balance going on for it. It has that nice thing, but it also has a juicy thing that I wasn't expecting. It has that fruity, juicy IPA thing.
The great stone fruit. It's got pineapple. It's got all those tropical fruits that you get from
The
hops.
citra hop sort of staples. But you're right. It doesn't. So often the IPAs that are lean very heavily into citra wind up being a little more of that juicy juice sort of vibe to them.
It's like hop water.
And this is still very much a bold IPA.
This doesn't have that juicy, I'm basically just drinking orange juice in the name of beer thing going on. It really has a deep beer IPA thing going on with the malt, and then it's hoppy enough to stand up. This is probably among some of the better ones I've had. This is absolutely balanced, and the fruit in it is weirding me out a little bit because I just don't expect it in something that's this malty.
That's malty, yeah. Well, see, you really are a malt guy.
Yeah.
If we had to line up and talk about our favorites, I'm the hops guy. You're the malt guy.
Yeah, okay.
And so when something comes through with a maltiness like this, it's always going to do really well with you, I think. I'll actually enjoy, although it's not what I always want, but I will actually enjoy those almost pine coney IPAs, which is not what this is.
There are very few of those that I enjoy.
Yeah,
The
when I'm in the
Arrogant
mood,
Bastard
when I'm in the mood for it, I'll go this.
is one of them that you know that's like you said earlier. You know what you're getting into on that, and you go, here it is. And but that being said, this was really good, really interesting.
It's really
Thank you guys
terrific. Yeah,
very
really.
much.
Seriously, all of the beers have been very, very good.
Yeah.
And I love how they're. It's really kind of just like this. The phrase that comes to my mind is this gentle assortment of styles. All of these beers are very drinkable.
Yes.
All of them are. Even the ones that are a little higher in ABV, I could crush that.
They're all MF beer.
Yeah.
They are.
They are. They're all an MF beer. That's right.
Which makes me think of
From an
MF
MF brewery.
and makes me
That
think
was
of,
just getting fun to say.
and makes me think of MF Doom, which is also fun
MF Doom.
fun to talk about. So, all right.
Doesn't even show up to his own concerts sometimes.
I know. Well, why bother? All right, I am going to put us on a break here, and we will be back to close out the show. But thumbs up to this entire
Thank
lineup.
you guys very much.
When we come back, I'm going to ask you a little bit about things that you might have in the tap room only. Like, what are the interesting beers that we could that we could sample if we were up in your tap room right now? So, and we'll also be back to wrap up the program and to tell you a little bit about what's coming up next week on Smoking and Toasting.
Smoking and toasting.
Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. We are the program that is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And welcome to show number 258. Amazing, isn't it?
Where we ask the question, why must I be like that?
Yeah.
Why must I chase the cat?
Is that what we asked? I thought we asked if we were halfway to 300.
No, we're halfway to 300.
Yeah,
I did the math.
258.
Yeah, 258
That's halfway to
shows.
300.
Wow.
And as we are fond of saying, just because we know it really pisses one person off, no one has stepped in and tried to stop
So
us.
I want to warn you, we did not have a 200th episode extravaganza, but we did have a 100 episode extravaganza, which was both extravagant and ridiculous.
And it was a bit of a
And we
ganza.
basically invited everyone who's been on the show before.
Did you go to Arby's?
No, they technically haven't.
No, but I'm thinking we could rent one out. But so when 300 comes up,
Right.
You're on the list, buddy.
I want to come.
So we'll invite you back. We'll have it someplace where everybody can bring, at the 100th show, everybody brought bottles and cans and
Sticks
cigars, and we were outside. We had a wonderful time, but the show was 4 hours long. And by
just
the
kept
end,
going.
And
by
how
the
much of
end-
it was coherent?
We didn't
I was
care.
going to say, by the end, I'm not sure if anyone was still able to understand.
Someone
us,
is
but-
like on the microphone.
Yeah. No, it was almost like that, except in our case, it was your buddy Mark and our good friend from
Jeremiah
from B&B
Mark
Butchers.
Nichols and
Oh,
Jeremiah.
Mark Nichols.
You know Mark.
I
I saw
know.
him just the
Yeah.
other night.
Yeah, it was Mark Nichols and the head beverage guy at B&B Butchers, Jeremiah Butler, doing a long dissertation about how to clean the beverage lines and the beer lines. And,
Mark
which,
and I go way back.
Mark
which I'm
Nichols-
sure was right there at the top of the list of what
Sitting
listeners wanted to
in
hear
your
about.
seat at one point, Mark
Yeah.
Nichols was sitting there, and as we were going through our cigar speak that we generally
Yeah.
do, he
I think he got a little bored, yeah,
and he decided to just shotgun a beer.
without telling anybody. He just did it. It was
I want to
beautiful.
hire him as my personal Yeti or Bigfoot.
Yeah, totally.
know,
he could do appearances
Because he's
for
the
you.
oversized garden gnome. Because his beard is just so.
Oh yeah, he
massive.
could do appearances for you.
Yeah.
He's the one from the logo.
Well,
it would be
well,
great.
we took a photo of him climbing on a mountain and then just put him
Right.
on a koozie.
That's it,
Put
right?
it on the beer. I love it.
What do you mean Bigfoot? That's Mark
So,
from Quality Draft.
so if I come to your tap room in
Yeah.
Broken Bow, what other kinds of things will I find on tap outside of the ones?
Okay,
the
so we have
delicious ones we've tried today.
Our newest beer coming out soon in honor of Veterans Day is Highway 259. That's the highway that comes into Texas, into Oklahoma. And so a portion of those proceeds are going to a veterans charity in Oklahoma. We may launch it in Texas if we can. And I'm pretty fond of Camp Hope.
And what style of beer is this?
This is going to be just a straight up pale ale.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
so a
Very nice.
really, really easy drinking IPA. We do have a lot of our beers that are on. We have a few beers that are on Nitro MFB 9.0, as well as a Crumpet, which is an old English ale on. I think that's going to be on Nitro as well.
Yeah.
And then we have it's called Fruit of the Light, and that's a fruit added IPA as well too. So there's other beers I don't know because they brew them and put them up so fast, and they take them back down again.
Doing small batches
Yeah,
and
yeah,
popping
yeah.
them up there.
Yeah.
That's what can be so fun.
Is
though,
there
about
is there
visiting.
mountain biking in Mountain Fork?
I'm sure there is.
Sounds like it could be a road trip for you,
Well,
my
I'm
friend.
just saying.
It really is a great place if you have kids. If you don't have kids, it's a great. Like if you go up on a Thursday, come home on a Sunday, it's a great time.
And you mentioned there's a casino.
Yeah, there is. And if you name
There's a
drop
casino almost
Omar
everywhere.
in that small town,
Yeah.
or the brewery itself, I'm probably the only Irish Pakistani in that entire population.
so
of
everybody knows
300.
who you are, yeah.
Yes, I'm sure they do.
So if I go Omar, you know about Yatol, Irish Pakistani guy, they're gonna know who
kind
I'm
of
talking
husky, So
So it's like Cheers, where everybody knows your name.
yeah,
Generous
sort of.
build.
Yeah. Generous build. I really like that. Double extra awesome. Instead of double extra large.
Double extra awesome. Well, Omar,
Generous.
thank you so
Thank you.
much for coming in, for bringing these delicious beers, and we love what you're doing, and I really hope that, and I'll just say this, I'm a Texan, but sometimes here in the Lone Star State, we can be a little snooty about embracing things
Yes.
from other states, but I hope that people will look past that and try you guys' beer, because these are all very good.
What I
I'm
tell-
starting to believe that
Yeah.
you're the reason that God made Oklahoma.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, people say,
be a reason.
why should we buy beer from Oklahoma instead of Houston? Like, because we're not from Dallas. And that usually sells it.
It's a wonderful thought. Yeah. My business partner always likes to say that he went to Dallas to run a business there for 3 or 4 years, and it took him that long before he realized that he was free to go.
Yeah.
So, and he returned to Houston. But yeah, every state
It was
has
all
that.
a dream.
Yeah, every state has that though. That's
right.
L.A., San Francisco. It's probably Oklahoma City, Tulsa. I would
Yeah,
guess
I'm sure.
have that. And then
Yeah.
there's of course New York, Boston, because New York doesn't have. It had to go out of state to find a city to pick on because the other
Yeah, no
New
one,
York
no one
cities
can
are
hate
not-
on Albany.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you don't go NYC
Those
Albany.
Albany
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. exactly. But yeah, but a lot of states have that. Miami, Tampa. There
That's
you go.
exactly right.
So anyway, thank you so much though.
Absolutely, my
these
pleasure.
beers are delicious.
Thank you.
I think my favorite was the Gentleman Jackalope, but the
Love it.
the one that surprised me the most was the
The sticky snake?
yes, the
Sticky
sneaky
snake.
snake.
It surprised everybody.
Sneaky Snake's my favorite.
Good. Thank you guys very much.
But
Appreciate it.
all of them are very, very good. And I just want to give a nod to this light ale. It's very,
Nod to light ale,
very
yes.
good
Yeah,
and
thank
drinkable.
you guys very much.
So yeah, so this and it's a wonderful one
We have
for
had
people who are not into.
We have had 2 beers that were light drinking beers of that caliber now on the show this year.
Yeah.
This light ale and that Scout from True Anomaly.
yes,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
that was quite good.
Those
Quite good.
those are the 2 most outstanding on that lighter
Yeah.
side of beer. That's
Because I think it's
Just stand
difficult.
up.
It's difficult to get a lot of flavor in there without it feeling like it's added, like the Bud Light Lime feels, where it feels like they've dumped that extra flavor in to the beer.
Well, the
and
light
not
beer
that it's a
category-
natural.
I don't know why they
Yeah.
call
Part
it
of
Bud Light Lime when it actually tastes like Lemon Pledge.
yeah, that's what they should
But
call it.
it-
Bud
you
Light
know,
Lemon Pledge.
Well, that doesn't sound as great as Bud Light Lime, but I will tell you this, that the light category has grown because one of the fastest growing AB beers is the Ultra, right? And
Right.
So the millennial and Gen Zers are much
Absolutely.
more health
And we're
conscious.
talking about
And-
3%,
and
3.5%.
even Untitled
beers.
Art, the
Yeah.
very artsy,
Yeah.
crazy. All their beers are always like these crazy things. They actually put out a. What they're hoping, I guess, is a Michelob Ultra Killer. We had
That's
that
exactly
on,
right, yeah.
but yours is better, by the way.
Thank you.
So
Thank you very much.
Certainly.
but I think though it's interesting to see that people are doing that. And by the way, just a sidebar. But remember when Bud Light Seltzer came out, and we talked about how stupid it was that they called it Bud Light Seltzer?
Are they changing it now?
No, but they are running a campaign about how confusing it is to people because people see the Bud Light Seltzer can and they think it's Bud Light. I'm not kidding. There's actually a series of ads running
Yeah.
where they go, one of the difficulties of getting people to try new Bud Light Seltzer is that people see the can and think it's Bud Light. I'm like, duh. You're just now figuring that out, but they've actually put an advertising.
What
campaign
that you know
around.
what that actually reads? People have picked up the Bud Light Seltzer and went, "This ain't my normal Bud Light.
Right.
I'm gonna call them and complain."
That's exactly right.
What did you call it? Mullet juice?
Mullet
Mullet
juice.
juice.
That is absolutely brilliant. So absolutely
I'm
brilliant.
stealing that.
You can have it.
That's brilliant.
and then I'm going to take instead of Husky, generous build.
Generous build. I like it.
Generously built gentleman.
That's right.
He's generously built. Well, thank you again,
you very
Omar, for
much,
being
of
on the
course.
show, for bringing the beers, and good luck to you guys.
Thank you.
How long has Mountain Fork been available in Texas?
A little less than a year now.
Okay, so it's still kind of in its
still pretty
infancy.
It's
new.
still new, so please support us. We have Timber Creek is the current special that we have now. You can go actually up to most HEBs and Kroger's and see a display with only Timber Creek is on special, and then scan the QR code, and then you can see Bigfoot doing Bigfooty things. It's a live cam to Bigfoot doing things. So went on Tinder, eating a snack.
Sounds like TikTok.
A lot like TikTok without the twerking. I don't know. He might twerk. I don't know. So
I don't
we'll
think I
soon
need
find
to see
out.
Bigfoot twerk. Do you?
I don't go on Instagram or those things. Facebook sometimes, but
Yeah. Well,
TikTok. That was
folks, thank you for being a
Thank
part
you,
of
guys.
the program, and Omar, thank you for being here.
Cheers.
And we can give a hearty thumbs up to all of these beers. They were all
That's what I'm
delicious,
talking about. Thank
and so thank you again for bringing them. Ian, next week, an old friend returns to the show. Our buddy Joe Breda with Old Humble Distilling.
I love that guy.
Yeah,
He's
he
so
is
fun.
awesome. He's going to be on the show. And then Tom Painter with No Label will be here the week after that, and then the week after that is Thanksgiving, so we'll be off. But enjoy a lovely beer or cocktail as you do your family Thanksgiving thing on that Thursday. So yeah, Joe Breda next week. We'll be looking forward to that. I understand they've got something new at Old Humble.
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, so very excited.
Oh, I need to go by and see how his new place is doing.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
ever drive through Humble?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's right off 1960. He's actually closer to a Atascocita now. He moved down the road just a little
So
bit.
have you ever had Widmeyer at...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Chris is my neighbor, matter of fact.
Man.
Oh, no kidding.
You tell him next time you talk to him that I still, that single barrel, the Blue Label one,
Yeah.
one of my favorite whiskeys.
And the great thing about living next to him is I was really sick, and he dropped off a free bottle.
Oh,
And a bunch of hand sanitizer, too. So
Love that.
That's really good. I would be
We need to
tempted
get him back on the show, see what he's got going on.
Yes, we absolutely do. We had Garrison Brothers on recently. It's
Oh,
time.
Charlie Garrison was so fun. I need to follow up with him and
Angel
go
Share.
out and visit him.
Yeah.
It's time now to get those guys back on, and we need to do Balcones again because it's been too long since
It has
Balcones.
been.
We haven't had them on since before they released their rum,
Oh,
so we need to talk about that too.
I have some of their rum.
How is it? I haven't tasted it.
Good rum.
All right, I'll look forward to that.
Cheers.
Well, thanks again, guys. We're going to say so long until next week.
Cheers,
Thank
guys.
you
Thank
for being
you.
a part of Smoking and Toasting, and
cheers,
as we like to
guys.
say, cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.